If you're more than 12 weeks post ACL surgery and looking for a structure and a plan, this video is for you. One of the most questions I get asked is, how do I build a structure? How do I build a program after 12 weeks post-op? This is usually the stage where most ACL rehab will plateau or stall. It's kind of like a fork in the road. If you think like a marathon, everyone's on the same starting line and then everyone kind of chugs along and everyone's in a similar stage. That's like the first 12 weeks of your rehab. Everyone's learning how to walk, learning how to minimize swelling, getting the range of motion back. Everyone's kind of in that same journey the first 12 weeks. What happens after 12 weeks is that everyone kind of starts dispersing or spreading out, and some people are going to be a little bit ahead, some people are going to be a little bit sideways, a little bit behind, right? We have different pathways after the 12 weeks. Now, why is that? So in this video, I'll break it all down. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Josh. I've been a physical therapist for over 10 years and now specializing in ACLers coming back to running, jumping, and playing again. So after that 12-week mark, everybody starts to disperse. Some people are going to be ahead, some people are going to be behind, right? No one's really behind. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing in their own journeys, right? Every ACL situation is going to be special and unique. The reason why this is a challenging phase for a lot of people is that there's so much protocols out there that says different things. Some protocols will say you should be planning to get back to running at 12 weeks. Some protocols will say you should be strength training, you should be doing some jumping plyometrics, right? So there's just a variety of protocols when you look online. And the problem with that is, like I said, each situation, each case is unique and different. There's going to be people that have meniscus repairs, people that don't have meniscus repair. There's going to be people that had a cartilage cleanup. In the ACL surgery itself is just a foundation, but now you have these other things like the meniscus, the cartilage, other ligaments potentially, that changes the course of what 12 weeks post-op might look like. So someone's 12 weeks post-op will look very differently than someone else's 12 weeks. And this is where it gets all messy sometimes. I'm here to help you break down what the most important things to achieve are after the 12-week mark. And I break it down into something I call the 5S. S number 1 is single leg. A lot of our rehab should be done on single leg, right? We call this unilateral training. It boggles my mind when I ask people what they're doing for their rehab and they say the same things, which are going to be like squats, lunges, and deadlifts. While there's nothing wrong with those exercises, most of those exercises are bilateral or two-legged. Now, two-leg exercises are amazing. They have a lot of support and research around it to help you with strength, force production, power, things like that. But when it comes to ACL rehab specifically, the single leg training should be at least 70 to 80% of your whole program. So everything you should be doing on single leg. Why? Because you injured one leg. And so one side of your body, so your leg, is going to need extra stimulus than the other healthy leg, right? That makes total sense to me. And if you have goals of returning to sport one day, you realize that most sports, actually 90% of sports are done with one leg, a single leg. So we need to be training extra stimulus, extra attention on the injured side, because that's the side that needs the attention. It needs the extra work. To recap, 70 to 80% of your training should be on single leg. The second S is stabilize. Stabilize is basically another word for balance, proprioception, stability, control. So all of those things, we need to learn how to move our body in relation to each other. The fancy medical term is called proprioception. Essentially, can you rotate? Can you absorb? Can you react while you're looking? So if you're testing yourself, you can test yourself on a single leg balance and seeing if you can turn your head this way. You can turn your head this way. There's a lot of research that shows after an ACL injury specifically that our proprioceptive feedback from the brain to the rest of the body is reduced, which means we have to train not only strength and power and sport-specific stuff, but we also have to train our brain's connection to the rest of the body. So how do we do that? Balance exercises, proprioception, control, stability, again, mostly on one leg. The third S is probably what you've heard before. It's going to be strengthen. There is no replacement for strengthening the leg, specifically the injured side. So strengthen on single leg pattern, strengthen in multiple directions, so not just forward and back. This is another common mistake that I see is a lot of ACLers will only train in the sagittal plane. The sagittal plane is basically the forward and back plane of motion. So think like walking lunges forward, think like deadlifts, we think like squats, anything to do with forward and back. You realize all of our life and sports are done in a three-dimensional pattern. So three-dimensional meaning side to side, right? We need to be able to learn how to move side to side. we also need to learn how to rotate our bodies in a more 360 or 180 pattern. So a lot of your rehab, part of your strengthening patterns should be done in different planes of motion like lateral and rotation. The fourth one is another important one called the stride/spring, right? If you think about what a stride and spring means, it means you're jumpy, you're like a spring, you're ready to jump, you're ready to explode, be athletic, right? So this is the athletic phase. And I've done videos on this in the past. If you want to take a look at them, they're under the plyometrics videos. This is the time to build your capacity to be springy, to be jumpy, and to be athletic. So how do we do that? First, we have to build the foundations of strength, right? So we always go back to previous phases. In order to be able to do the springy stuff, we have to be able to have a strong foundation in strength and a strong foundation in balance. So again, I've done this in order, right? Now you build the strength, you build the stability. Now we're getting to the spring and the elasticity. You've got to be able to build those strength. Then you've got to build reactivity off the ground. So being able to pop off the ground quickly, being able to absorb load and force onto the ground in different directions. The last S is show. So this to me means showing off. Is now you can show off everything you've built from the beginning. So from single leg pattern to stabilization to strength to spring, right? Everything's been building up to the last stage, which is going to be showing off. And showing off will look differently to you and the next person, because this is, what is your goal? Like, your goal is going to be different than the next person. Someone's goal might be going back to skiing recreationally with family. Another person could be playing soccer once a week with their friends. Another person could be going hiking once a week with their partner. Showing off just means you're able to do whatever it is that you want to do. So this is the chance to finally put the pieces together that you've built over the last 4 phases to now show off and be able to do the things you want to. Hopefully that 5S framework was useful for you. And here's the thing that I want you to take away with. Now, if you're 12 weeks or beyond post-surgery and you feel that your progress hasn't been moving the way you want to, it's usually because there's a lack of structure and a plan just like this. Not because your knee is broken, not because your body is broken, but because the plan just stopped evolving. Remember, everyone starts off in the same starting line in the beginning, but once the 12-week mark comes up, people start to disperse their own way. Some people will finish earlier, some people will finish years later, and that's completely up to you. What makes you finish faster is going to be having a plan and structure for your goals. If you found this video helpful, I have a free video explaining the exact system that I use to help my clients get back to running, jumping, and playing again. I'll link that in the description below. And I would greatly appreciate if you could like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button so that you can let me know this was useful, and I'll keep making videos just like this. I'll talk to you in the next one.